So the first of the weekend action then, the early Saturday kick-off was at Anfield. Liverpool home to Bournemouth. Team news, no Alisson for Liverpool, he's out, and he's also going to be out for the Champions League match in the week. Milner was in for Robertson. Klopp was a bit unsure really about why he wasn't in, hedging his bets, I guess. Henderson's out with a hamstring. Bournemouth, Harry Wilson ineligible. He's registered by Liverpool, so he couldn't play. And still no Brooks, of course, long-term injury for Bournemouth. Early action, well, Bournemouth certainly started the better. Liverpool looked rather sluggish. 8 minutes, some good teamwork, and this is what happened. Basically, the ball was hoofed downfield, and Gomez went for the ball with Callum Wilson. It appeared that Wilson pushed him off the ball a little bit, but the ball was picked up by the Cherries, and it was fed to Billing, and Lerma overlapping on the right, collected the ball, and a neat pass across the 6-yard box, and Callum Wilson was there, and he slotted it past Adrian, and that was 1-0. The VAR had a good look at this clash between Gomez and Wilson, and it was decided that the goal stood. Klopp was incessant on the touchline, but anyway, 1-0 to the Cherries. After that, they had a chance to make it 2 when Ake forced Adrian to tip the ball over from another corner. But first chance for Liverpool on 16 minutes, Firmino put in after a neat clip over the top of the defence, but Ramsdale was good enough to push it away. So we're at the midpoint of the first half, and the Cherries good value for 1-0, but it didn't stay that long for long. One of the defenders, I think his name's Greenwood, was in for the Cherries. He got dispossessed anyway inside his own half, and unfortunately it got to Mane, and he raced forward, and he had Salah to his right. His pass wasn't the best one, but Salah turned inside and hit a lovely shot just inside Ramsdale's near post, and that was it, 1-1. After that, Liverpool really moved up a gear. Arnold was getting more into it. He delivered a great ball, but Van Dijk's effort was cleared for a corner. And then on 32 minutes, another slight defensive lapse by the Cherries. Van Dijk picked the ball up and he pushed the ball into space. Mane, anticipating that space, ran onto it, and he clipped it wide of the goalkeeper, and all of a sudden Liverpool were in charge, and it was 2-1. Bowen went close on 38 minutes, Bournemouth went close on 38 minutes with Stanislas' shot, but it was punched away by Adrian. So that was the score at the break, 2-1. Into the second half, well, the expected domination from Liverpool really didn't happen, and to be perfectly honest, Van Dijk was looking a little bit slack at the back, and Wilson was a constant menace and threatening for Bournemouth. And they held their own, very much so. Fraser was looking lively, and he managed to beat Adrian to the ball from a chip over the top. Adrian, what he was doing, we'll never know. This was on 50 minutes, and Fraser clipped it over the goalkeeper, and it was heading into the net, but amazingly Milner recovered to clear the ball off the line and over the bar. That was a real warning for Liverpool. 65 minutes, and Arnold cross found Van Dijk, but his heading was pretty comfortable for Ramsdale. Shot from distance from Mane curved the bar on 73 minutes. It was a wicked effort, but Bournemouth survived. And basically the match ran out a pretty sort of miserable last quarter, really. Liverpool had issues failing to clear. Ake had a very good chance, but he was caught offside, and the match came to the final whistle. Liverpool had managed to get the win. That 3 losses in the last 4 had ended. Salah had come good, Mane had come good. Firmino still can't get that goal at Anfield this season, but it didn't matter a lot. Final score at Anfield, Liverpool 2, Bournemouth 1. So too the Emirates then. Arsenal against West Ham, London derby. Arsenal, well, ran a few changes again, did the coach and Arteta. West Ham, Moyes, coming off that good win last week. Bone was retained, as was the German Haller, and early action, it has to be said. West Ham had some really good chances. Bowen hit a post after Xhaka gave the ball away early on. Leno did get a touch which tipped it onto that post, and Antonio managed to get free on the right, but his pass went behind Haller, mainly because Haller didn't really anticipate the space, so the chance went astray. 12 minutes, a shot by Ozil after a poor clearance, but Fabianski and the defender between them managed to get the shot away, and a noble corner late on found Diop, and for some inexplicable reason he managed to tip the ball wide of the post from about 2 yards. So we got to the break goalless, into the second half then, and once again West Ham looking dangerous. Antonio header on 56 minutes forced Leno to get a big hand to the attempt, which foiled the effort, and so it remained goalless. It was sort of end-to-end stuff, really, and I felt West Ham certainly slightly in the ascendancy, but then Aubameyang managed to get a cross in, and it was collected by Pepe, but his shot was blocked, and finally the ball came across to Lacazette, who beat the offside trap, and the ball went in the net. Now, VAR had a good look at this, and they were checking on whether Ozil was offside. He was a supplier for Lacazette, and it decided that he wasn't. There was a stray defender keeping him onside, and so the referee's decision was overturned and a goal awarded. Well, that rather deflated West Ham, it has to be said, and the Gunners hung on. So a really good win for Arteta. Arsenal continued to be moving up the table. West Ham, well, they're still down in the danger zone, but they can count themselves pretty unlucky here. Final score at the Emirates was Arsenal 1, West Ham 0. Turf Moor then, Burnley at home to Spurs. Eric Dyer was selected, even though there was that fracas in the crowd in the cup tie in the week. And Mourinho rang the changes. There were a couple of faces that I wasn't familiar with, and Numboli was in. Burnley, Wood was back, but the unfortunate statistic for Dyche was that he hasn't got a win against Mourinho. Anyway, early work, early shots from early on. McNeil looking good on the left. Wood hit a shot too high, but Burnley had the sort of better of things. The Spurs looked rather lacklustre. Rodriguez then unleashed a shot from good work by McNeil, and Lloris, back in goal, managed to spill the effort, and Wood pounced, and it was 1-0 to Burnley. And then a little bit later, a free kick for McNeil, and he tested Lloris from distance, but it remained 1-0 at the break. And then Mourinho rang the changes. Surprisingly, he'd left Moura and Lo Celso on the bench, but they were back in at the start of the second half, and it certainly zipped them up. Although the first opportunity came to Spurs when Lamela was put through, but he was clipped by me, and it was a clear penalty, and Dele Alli stepped up to convert. That was 50 minutes. So back to 1-1. After that, Spurs definitely on the front foot, looking more purposeful. Lo Celso looked speedy. He hit an effort just wide of Pope's post. Up the other end, Vydra came on, but his shot was smothered by Lloris. And then Ali had a chance on 86 minutes from an Aurora cross, but his effort went just wide. So that was about it. Honours even. Not a particularly great game. Final score at Turf Moor: Burnley 1, Spurs 1. Selhurst Park then. Crystal Palace at home to Watford. Watford on a roll after beating Liverpool last week. Palace were unchanged, going for 3 wins in a row. And for Watford, a forced change. Pereira in for the injured Deulofeu. Early pressure from Watford. They looked good. Doucouré was looking threatening, but the first real effort on goal came on 28 minutes, and it fell to Ayew. This followed some really good work by Benteke, who's gaining in confidence week by week, and he managed to set Zaha down the left. Zaha's centre found Ayew, and 2 defenders failed to get in the way and block. And Ayew's shot was a fierce one, and it hit the roof of the net. And so Foster was absolutely livid with his defence, but Palace went in 1-0. That was the half-time score. After the break, Zaha again forced a good save from Foster. At the other end, Watford had some good moments, but seemed to lack a little bit of a cutting edge. Missing Deulofeu, to be sure. Deeney had a drive which tested Guaita, and Doucouré's header was pushed wide by the keeper. And then on 73 minutes, an audacious bicycle kick from Benteke just hit the side netting. But as was the case, Hodgson having got a new contract this week, so he's going to be around next season. He saw his troops get to the final whistle. Another win for Palace then. That's 4 wins in a row now for them. Full-time score at Selhurst Park: Crystal Palace 1, Watford 0. The 2 promoted sides, Sheffield United at home to Norwich. Contrasting fortunes all season for these two, with Sheffield United on a high and Norwich at the bottom. Team news: Billy Sharp was retained up front, Lundstram was recalled, and a word about Krul. He's been in some good form, and he's now got the nickname of the penalty stopper. Both these teams, of course, successful in the FA Cup. They're both in the quarter-finals. First half then, Krul tips over Burnley's header. And then there was a half chance for Pukki. He hasn't scored for a while, but his effort from 5 yards went wide, just nicked the post. O'Donnell's shot for the Blades was blocked by McLean, and then on 36 minutes, tremendous cross from the right from Lindstrom found Sharp free inside the box, and his header was whistled past the keeper in at the far post, and the Blades won up. A shot from Lundstrom as the half-time whistle approached warmed Krul's hands, but it was 1-0 at the break. Norwich looked better in the second half. They certainly matched Sheffield United, but no real clear-cut chances until the last quarter when Henderson pulled off a couple of tremendous saves to keep the ball out. One had sort of half crossed the line, but he managed to keep it out, and he also denied Lewis from range. That was good enough. Wiley celebrating on the touchline once again. Another win for Sheffield United. They took this game by 1-0. So to St Mary's then. Southampton against Newcastle. This pitted 13th against 14th. The team news: Ginepri was back from Southampton's team. He had been given compassionate leave in the last match following the death of his mother. Gale was in for Joe Linton up front for Newcastle. To the action then. Newcastle had no league goal in 4 matches, although they did put 3 past Albion in the Cup in midweek. And Southampton's defence, well, it's the worst at home in the division. But of course we have to remember that they conceded 9 to Leicester. Early action then, and Newcastle in the ascendancy. McCarthy had to be sharp to deny Gale and Almiron early on. And that followed some good work down the right by Shelvey. 24 minutes, Valerie, a shot from distance for Southampton, but it was easily grasped by Dubrovka. And then a little bit later, a few minutes later, Ginepri lost control of the ball, and his challenge was a bit reckless, and he managed to stamp on a Newcastle player's shin bone. And the referee initially gave a yellow card, but then VAR had a look at it, and they advised that it was seriously dangerous play. So Ginepri was sent off. So not a good week or so for him after losing his mother. He'd also got his marching orders. 30 minutes, a great chip trot cross from the left from St Maximin, who was coming into the game more and more and really giving Valerie a hard time. This cross at the byline found Gale, but again his header flashed wide. Should have been a goal scoring opportunity, but the goalkeeper not even tested. And a little bit later though, Boufal managed to bring down Gale, I think, in the box, and it was a bit soft, but Matt Ritchie stepped up, but McCarthy saved the kick. So we got to the interval, still goalless. Newcastle definitely had the better of things, but as has been the case all season, they can't get the ball in the net. Into the second half then, and it was pretty sort of mediocre to say the least. But then on 79 minutes, a bit of real class from the Frenchman St Maximus. He managed to get the ball off Valerie, and then he headed straight to the penalty box, and he sort of glided to gain a yard of space and clipped it past McCarthy, and Newcastle were 1-up. Well, that's how it stayed really. A disappointing match overall, but Newcastle certainly deserved it. Final score at St Mary's: Southampton 0, Newcastle 1. Now the final match of the Saturday fixtures: Wolves against Brighton. Only one win in 13 for Brighton. Very poor form. The big R is being talked about more frequently down at the Amex now. R for relegation. Dendolka was in for Traore. He's got a shoulder injury, but he was on the bench. Jota, 6 goals in the last 3 games. He's hot. First half action, not a lot of it. It was pretty unimpressive. Wolves looking very stagnant, and Brighton content to have that strong defensive lineup, hoping for a break. There was one half chance for Jimenez, and he hit the stanchion on the volley. It was an awesome strike, but that was about it. Goalless at the break. Into the second half, there was a chance for Brighton when a Trossard cross went into the danger area, but Maupay couldn't get a connection, so it went away to safety. It was a great run by Traore, who came on as a sub on 75 minutes, and the ball eventually came to Jimenez, but Ryan saved. And that was about it. A very, very disappointing match. Final score at Molineux: Wolves 0, Brighton 0.